So we have just covered the road, which is the day of great intellectual light that the papacy needs to come to the supremacy of the throne of the earth again. That day of great intellectual light, that is the road that leads to the passing of the national son-in-law, because in the day of great intellectual light, the scientists and the intellectuals, they regard their intelligence higher than the wisdom of God, and they value human tradition more than the word of God. And so that is the exact climate that the papacy needs to come to prominence to frame a law that recognizes its power. And so therefore that law is the Sunday law. So the road is the day of great intellectual light. Then we have the vehicle. The vehicle is the belief that God's law is not binding, because if God's law is not binding, then you don't need to keep the Sabbath. You only need to recognize the sign of the resurrection of the Christian faith, a new faith coming out of Judaism, and therefore that's a sign of Rome's authority. And the driver, and so the vehicle is the belief that God's law is not binding. The driver of this vehicle is spiritualism. Spiritualism is the grease that keeps the machinery going. It's the glue that keeps everything together. It's the driver. It's the influence of the belief. It's the influence of demonic spirits and spiritual manifestations that enter into the church and convinces the church members that it is written is no longer valid, but what they are saying is, it's the belief that the dead are not really dead and the dead return. It's the belief in the immortality of the soul. This is the driver that takes us to the national son-in-law, and it's those demonic spirits that create a lane shift in the thinking of the American people, the people in America, to exalt Sunday as being sacred, because these demonic spirits, they manifest and say, no, Sunday is sacred, not the Sabbath. Sabbath is dead. And people trust their seeing is believing, as I said. People trust what they see more than what they read. And these demonic spirits influence churches and changes, cause a material shift in Protestantism, cause a material shift in nations of the world culturally, that people now want to exalt Sunday, beloved. And now we have reached. So that was the lane shift. So now let's look at the intersection that we reach before we reach the destination of the national Sunday law, because all what is happening, it is being played out in the public domain. It is something that is going on in society. Society is a buzz. So you will know when the national Sunday law is going to pass, beloved. We do not have to speculate. We will know, beloved. We will surely know that this is it, and that this is the thing, and that this is going to happen. We will know. So it is not, there's no need for ambiguity. There's no need at the drop of the hat. Again, when the papacy, when the Pope comes out on his balcony and he gives a speech on Easter or Christmas, and he calls for Sunday observant, he knows why he's calling for it, because he's setting the stage. He's conditioning the minds of the people. And this is why we have to preach against the concept, the idea, the doctrine that God's law is not binding, and we have to preach against the concept and the idea that the dead are alive in heaven. No, you are dead. You understand? Emmett Till is dead. So if the dead is not dead, why didn't he come and speak and say, these are the white men that killed me? Why didn't Martin Luther King reveal things when he died? Why did the people who die and their bodies are just found, why aren't their spirits roaming and saying this is the person, and pointing fingers and bringing evidence? No, because you're dead. So the doctrines that we preach to strike at the foundation of Rome's power, which are that the God's law is not binding, and and when you are dead, and the immortality of the soul. This is causative preaching that strikes at the foundation of the disease of the Sunday law. This is where we should be. We should not be preaching palliatively and symptomatically. We should be preaching the truth as it is in Jesus Christ. So don't preach about the man. Don't preach about the man who is identified as a of the man of sin. Preach about where his power comes from. Preach about his power, the perversion of the word of truth. Beloved, not just the man of sin that we have to mention, we have to talk about the papacy, but when we spend an inordinate amount of time only speaking about the papacy and not where the power comes from, then that's an issue, beloved. We are missing the mark. Hamar. So let's look now at point number 5 in the 6 steps to the Sunday law, of how the National Sunday Law passes, which is the intersection. You know, sometimes you meet an intersection where things, so we shift lanes. We went into the lane of the exaltation of Sunday sacredness, and then in that lane of exaltation of Sunday sacredness, we reach an intersection and we turn down the road of the National Sunday Law, and that is political legislation. Yes, political legislation, not executive order, but rather political legislation. And we are also going to see, figuring largely in political legislation, conglomerations of companies and the actions of trade and labor unions. All right. And so notice what the Pen of Inspiration says in Great Controversy 592, paragraph 3. The dignitaries of church and state will unite to bribe, persuade, or compel all classes to honor the Sunday, just like how they united to bribe, compel, and persuade all classes to take the vaccination. Just going to give you a second. The dignitaries of church and state will unite to bribe, persuade, or compel all classes to honor the Sunday. So are you seeing this playing out in society right now? The answer is no. So this isn't it. So we need to identify when it is clearly going to pass. So when it is clearly going to pass the National Sunday Law that precedes the time of trouble, we will see the dignitaries of church and state uniting to bribe, persuade, and compelling all classes of people to honor Sunday as sacred in their exaltation of it. The lack of divine authority will be supplied by oppressive enactments. And this is why I tell you, beloved, this coronavirus pandemic is a snapshot of what is going to happen. It's a snapshot of what is going to happen, beloved. That's what it is. All it is a snapshot. So we are getting an actual experience of what that time is going to be. This is the grace of God. That's beautiful. How God prepares you for a crisis that is going to come before it comes. Because exactly as it is, it's going to be in that time just perhaps 10 times worse, 100-fold worse. But it's going to be terrible. But we are getting an idea. God gives us an idea of what is going to happen. Political corruption is destroying love of justice and regard for truth. And even in free America, rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor. Why do they have to secure public favor? Because demonic spirits have been evangelizing the population of America and nations all over the world and seeding them with the thought that they do not need to keep God's law. Sunday must be held sacred. The Bible is a thing of the past and we must follow the papacy. And so therefore public sentiment shifts. There is a material shift in public sentiment, and because there's a material shift in public sentiment, the people themselves demand that a law be legislated in honor of Sunday because my dead grandmother came and told me. My dead grandfather, my uncle, my brother, my husband came to me at night and he spoke to me and he told me things that were going to happen, and I've been following his directions for the past 6 months, for the past 2 years, and I know that what he's speaking is the truth because everything that he said come to pass. We need to have Sunday law to honor God. A public shift. So, beloved, dispense with the Alex Jones gospel that by martial law the end is going to come. No. Legislators. So if you're in American context, it's not the government, but the president by executive order. The Congress sits and talks about it. There's a discussion and you will know. NPR will have it. CNN will surely report upon it. Fox News will be there, NBC, CBS, all the media houses, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, if these things are still in existence, will talk about this event. They will talk about it. It's going to be legislated. So a debate in the Houses of Parliament. It will be a debate. It plays out in the public domain. So away with the belief that it just happens at the snap of a finger suddenly. It doesn't happen suddenly, beloved. It does not. Does not happen suddenly. No. So, political corruption is destroying love of justice and regard for the truth. And even in free America, rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor, will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance. And again, it's popular in the nations of the world because the demons, because of the belief in spiritual manifestations, the demons have thoroughly worked the field of men's hearts and emotions, and to make them believe in spiritualistic manifestations, and therefore they're believing doctrines of devils brought to them by lying spirits. And therefore it's now popular. A material shift has taken place. And when you look at men like the famous scientists that are avowed atheists, the God delusion, and authors such as these, if they are still alive, they themselves will be compelled to accept demonic manifestations as the truth. And they will be in the crowds marching and protesting and lobbying, and people lobbying Congress to pass this law because this is the truth. And why is the truth? Because look at me. I wrote the God delusion. Look at me. I am telling you this now. This is the truth. God forbid that he goes under that delusion, but rather we would want him to be saved. So whether they get to Neil deGrasse Tyson or whosoever, beloved, the leading men of the world, it is popular. A material shift in the thinking brought about by supernatural agencies occurs in the life of people of the nations of the world, and they clamor for a Sunday law. America first leading the way, because America does not follow. She leads the way according to the pen of inspiration. And so rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor, so if you are not about Sunday exaltation, you ain't nothing. So you're going to see the TikTok videos and people talking with Sunday and doing dances, Sunday law dance. You understand? Nonsense garbage. But it is played out in our reality. And people are sitting on our panels, and the scientists are coming out, and people are coming out to the woodwork saying, yes, Sunday, the whole world. The whole world is being now coerced in accepting Sunday as law, as the whole world has now been coerced in accepting a vaccination, in the belief that you only have immunity if you are vaccinated, not in the belief that of God-given immunity that can be strengthened. So, here we are. So, and just notice the words, beloved, very carefully. Rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance. So the law enforces Sunday observance. Liberty of conscience, which has caused so great a sacrifice, will no longer be respected. So there then is a belief system that is in the world, is that you must trust your leaders, you must trust the experts, you must trust what everybody wants. And so therefore you shouldn't think for yourself. That is betrayal. Thinking for yourself will be betrayal. And this is why she has a quotation. I erased it out of this presentation because I was just making it too lengthy, others. But she said that because of our belief in Bible doctrine, we will be counted as traitors. Because people are no longer believing in the Bible. And so therefore you are a traitor. In the soon coming conflict, we shall see exemplified the prophet's words. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So now notice this next quotation in Testimonies for the Church, page 5, volume 5, page 450, 451. To secure popularity and patronage, legislators will yield to the demand for a Sunday law. So aware of the concept that it's by executive decree. Aware of the concept that one day we're going to go to sleep and then the next day we're going to wake up in a Sunday law. No. The legislators will yield to the demand for a Sunday law. So again, Congress sits and enacts a law because they want to remain popular and current and relevant. You understand? So just like now, if you are not promoting LGBTQ rights, you understand, you are nothing as a legislator. No. They platform you. All of this energy goes into Sunday. It doesn't occur in a vacuum. So we have to stop preaching and teaching that this thing occurs in a vacuum and suddenly, and then the final movements will be rapid. No, it does not work like that. We do not have biblical or spirit of prophecy, biblical references to support such a claim. All right. On this battlefield, she says, comes the last great conflict of the controversy between truth and error. All right. Great controversy 607. The church appeals to the strong arm of civil power, and in this work, Papists and Protestants unite. So what does the church do? Makes a formal appeal to the government to enforce Sunday. Have the churches made any formal appeal? Do churches in America have such power? Are the people thinking in a position to receive that appeal? No. So we know that we are on the road. All right. We are on the road and we are about to shift lanes. Because remember, the lane shift is Sunday sacredness, Sunday exaltation. So as people go to church on Sunday, but it becomes a thing. It becomes viral then. Selected Messages, Volume 2, page 380. All who will not bow to the decree of the national councils. See it there? All who will not bow to the decree of national councils and obey the national laws to exalt the Sabbath instituted by the man of sin to the disregard of God's holy law will feel not the oppressive power of popery alone, but of the Protestant world, the image of the beast. Because we are told in the Pen of Inspiration, the image of the beast is formed before the Sunday law. This is the image of the beast. Sunday sacredness, Sunday exaltation. And so therefore, national councils issue their decree. So the decree, the Sunday law is not by executive order. Neither is it by martial law. Notice this quotation, Acts of the Apostles 4:31, paragraph 2. God desires his people to prepare for the soon coming crisis. Prepared or unprepared, they all must meet it. And those only who have brought their lives into conformity to the divine standard will stand firm at that time of test and trial, when secular rulers unite with ministers of religion to dictate in matters of conscience. So what do the secular rulers do? They unite with ministers of religion. The woman rides the beast. The church controls the state. It's not the state controlling the church. Right now, the state is in control, but a material shift takes place in the thinking of Americans, brought on by supernatural interference in demonic manifestation in spirits of the devils, working miracles, going forth to deceive the people that dwell on the earth. These are the three unclean spirits of frogs, the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. And so therefore, beloved, this is what it is. When secular rulers unite with ministers of religion to dictate in matters of conscience, then it will be seen who really fear and serve God. When the darkness is deepest, the light of a God-like character will shine the brightest. When every other trust fails, then it will be seen who have an abiding trust in Jehovah. And while the enemies of truth are on every side, watching the Lord's servants for evil, God will watch over them for good. He will be to them as the shadow of a rock in a weary land. So again, secular rulers unite with ministers of religion. We are not there. It will happen. But we have to see the chronology. Supernatural interference is spiritualism, is the linchpin. And notice what Sister White says in Country Living. This is also letter 5, 1904, Country Living, page 9, paragraph 5. The time is fast coming when the controlling power of the labor unions will be very oppressive. Again and again, this is what she says, secular rulers. This includes people of business as well. Again and again, not just legislators alone. Again and again, the Lord has instructed that our people are to take their families away from the cities into the country where they can raise their own provisions. For in the future, the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. And because the Sunday law is a season, we live under the Sunday law for some time, just like how we've been living under the coronavirus pandemic for these past 2 years. This is now what today is, August the 30th, 2021. And so we are now 2 years in. This thing happened November 2019. So 2020, we woke up to coronavirus, and I was laughing at the people in China once again with their masks, and lo and behold, the week after, we got on our masks in the Caribbean too. So 2020 into 21 now, we are now 2 years into this pandemic. So the Sunday law is a season. This is why you should be living in the country, because if you are trapped in the city, if you are in the cities, you are trapped, beloved. You're in a bad place. You will genuflect. You will acquiesce. You will submit. You will capitulate. And this is what the devil wants, to trap you. To get you caught up with all kind of unessential side issues. And this issue leaves you unguarded. And you didn't guard your focus, and now trapped. So she says, again and again, the Lord has instructed that our people are to take their families away from the cities into the country, where they can raise their own provisions, for in the future, the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. We should now begin to heed the instruction given us over and over again. Get out of the cities into rural districts, where the houses are not crowded closely together, and where you'll be free from the interference of enemies, because you will have enemies. If you're living in the city, you become a prey. So God is giving the country living message to save your soul, that you will not be a prey to the enemy. Beloved, I accept this message, and I accept it again. I used to do live in the country. I want to go even deeper in, because I recognize it's for my salvation, for the salvation of my family, for the salvation of my children. In letter 200, 1903, or in the book Country Living, page 10, paragraph 2, she says, the trades unions will be one of the agencies that will bring upon this earth a time of trouble, such as has not been since the world began. So the trades unions are implicated. This is where when you read volume 9 of the testimonies, from page 11 onward, she says that they are struggling in vain to place business operations on a more secure basis. So the people want their rights, they want their increases in wages, their calamities by land and by sea. The signs of war, they are portentous. The Middle East is acting up. Islam may be doing its thing once again. The children of the East may be very active, beloved. The locusts may be going forth over the earth again. Whatever the case is, beloved, but the winds of strife are blowing. And the men will be struggling in vain to place business operations on a more economic basis, secure basis, as we read in volume 9 of the testimonies. And they are large conglomerations of businesses, just like what Amazon is doing. This is what Jeff Bezos have been doing, just like what certain companies are doing. Just pay attention to the companies, the large companies that are joining together. And so therefore, these large companies join together, oppress the workers, and the trade unions become very active. And because they are appealing for the rights of the people and for higher wages, and therefore, there's a lot of activity and tension and strife in the land, in the nation. So the work of the people of God, this is Country Living, page 10, paragraph 3. The work of the people of God is to prepare for the events of the future, which will soon come upon them with blinding force. Get out of the cities, because something is coming upon you with blinding force. Get out of the cities, beloved. In the world, gigantic monopolies will be formed. Men will bind themselves together in unions that will wrap them in the folds of the enemy. A few men will combine to grasp all the means to be obtained in certain lines of business. Trades unions will be formed, and those who refuse to join these unions will be marked men. But if you are doing your country to city ministries and you have started your lifestyle centers and sanitariums, restaurants and food factories, beloved, and you are operating for the work of the gospel, and this is a religious work that you are doing, you're not going to want to join to you. They may want to try to control, in some respect, something that you are doing, or some aspects of you that you are doing. But largely, God has given us a financial line of freedom, but we are not seeing it yet because of our greed and our selfish ambition. Get out of the cities, beloved. Do God's work, God's way, and you will bless. You'll be blessed. You will prosper. You will prosper in the time of famine. You will prosper. So notice how the Sunday law was enforced as well. And we in part dealt with this. I think perhaps this quotation could be in place a little higher up. But we are looking at the Sunday law, the fact that we are at the intersection of legislation. And so because we are at the intersection of legislation, we are going to go back in the past to see when in the Dark Ages they too were also at the intersection of legislation and what happened. Royal edicts, general councils and church ordinances sustained by secular power were the steps by which the pagan festival attained its position of honor in the Christian world. Great Controversy 574. Paragraph 1. So we see that it was done then, and this is how it's going to be done in the future. Royal edicts that were enforced with legislative power, with the power of the state. The first public measure enforcing Sunday observance was the law enacted by Constantine in AD 321. The edict required townspeople to rest on the venerable day of the sun, but permitted countrymen to continue their agricultural pursuits. Though virtually a heathen statute, it was enforced by the emperor after his nominal acceptance of Christianity. As the papacy became more firmly established, the work of Sunday exaltation was continued. So again, Sunday exaltation continues to continue. And it goes forth, law is passed, and it continues to continue. And she read and she reads thus along those lines. Now, in 575 of Great Controversy, paragraph 1, notice, in order to secure Sunday legislation and their power for Sunday, miracles were also called into requisition. They use miracles, and again we see spiritualism will be called into requisition. The power of spirit, the token of the power of miracle working demons. Miracles were also called into requisition. Among other wonders, it was reported that as a husbandman who was about to plow his field on Sunday cleaned his plow with an iron, the iron stuck fast in his hand, and for 2 years he carried about with him, to his exceeding great pain and shame. Alright, this was written by Francis West, Historical and Practical Discourse on the Lord's Day, page 174. And so that's it, beloved. So miracles also are called into requisition. And so later the Pope gave directions that the parish priest should admonish the violators of Sunday and wish them to go to church and say their prayers lest they bring some great calamity on themselves and neighbors. An ecclesiastical council brought forth the argument, since so widely employed even by Protestants, that because persons have been struck by lightning, while laboring on Sunday, it must be the Sabbath. It is apparent, said the prelates, how high the displeasure of God was upon their neglect of this day. So again, miracles or supernatural agencies were brought into requisition to cement and to secure Sunday law in AD 300 and so on and so forth, 24 and beyond. And so notice the decrees of councils proving insufficient, church councils, the secular authorities were besought to issue an edict that would strike terror to the hearts of the people and force them to refrain from labor on Sunday. So the Sunday law is passed, and then the edict or the decree that you can't buy or sell unless you worship on Sunday, and we're making it illegal for you to worship on Sabbath, to strike terror in the hearts of people. So the same methodologies will be used. So therefore, the Sunday law doesn't happen in secret. The Sunday movement is moving in secrecy, but the law does not occur in secrecy. All right, because the agenda is hidden. And so notice, the law passes, Sunday law passes. At a synod held in Rome, all previous decisions were reaffirmed with greater force and solemnity. They were also incorporated into the ecclesiastical law and enforced by the civil authorities throughout nearly all Christendom. So the Sunday law passed, and then it was enforced again. Just like how we are going to, which makes it illegal for you to do anything. So a Sunday law passed and make it sacred. Then the law passes is enforced so that you wouldn't do anything on Sunday. And then it increases to the point where you will worshiping on Sabbath is illegal. This is what happened. Then remember, there's no new thing under the sun. We read that Ecclesiastes when we were in presentation number 2 in this series that's looking like a 4 or 5 part series now. And so therefore this is how it happens. So it plays out. It's not in a vacuum. So no, it's not by sudden. It's not sudden. It's not by surprise. So it's following the same blueprint. This is why this coronavirus crisis is a good snapshot of what is to come. Still, the absence of scriptural authority for Sunday keeping occasioned no little embarrassment. The people questioned the right of their teachers to set aside the positive declaration of Jehovah. The Sabbath day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In order to honor the day of the sun, to supply the lack of Bible testimony, other expedients were necessary. A zealous advocate of Sunday who about the close of the 12th century visited the churches of England was resisted by faithful witnesses for the truth, and so fruitless were his efforts that he departed from the country for a season and cast about him for some means to enforce his teachings. So they went door to door making sure people accept Sunday's sacredness, just like how they go door to door making sure that people get their vaccination. So you see the snapshot that I'm talking about, beloved, that how God is speaking to us in this crisis. So notice, so this prelate now is looking for justification for Sunday's sacredness. Not finding none, he now has to go to resort to supernatural means to validate his claim that Sunday is sacred. When he returned, the lack was supplied, and in his after labors, he met with greater success. He brought with him a roll purporting to be from God himself, which contained the needed command for Sunday observance, and with awful threats to terrify the disobedient. This precious document, as base a counterfeit as the institution it supported, was said to have fallen from heaven. Ooh, insert later music here. Was said to have fallen from heaven and to have been found in Jerusalem upon the altar of St. Simeon in Golgotha. But in fact, the pontifical palace at Rome was the source whence it proceeded. Frauds and forgeries to advance the power and prosperity of the church have in all ages been esteemed lawful by the papal hierarchy. So again, supernatural means is always called into requisition. So therefore, beloved, the driver of the Sunday law was always spiritualism. Always. It was reported that persons laboring beyond the appointed hour were stricken with paralysis. A miller who attempted to grind his corn saw instead of flour a torrent of blood come forth, and the mill wheel stood still, notwithstanding the strong rush of water. A woman who placed dough in the oven found it raw when taken out, though the oven was very hot. Another who had Though prepared for baking at the 9th hour, but determined to set it aside till Monday, found the next day that it had been baked into loaves, made into loaves and baked by divine power. A man who baked bread after the 9th hour on Saturday found that when he broke it the next morning, that blood started therefrom. By such absurd and superstitious fabrications did the advocates of Sunday endeavor to establish its sacredness. The Spiritism is the driver. Supernatural means is the driver of the passage of the Sunday law. So until we see those supernatural means, we recognize that we have not shifted lane yet. But we are about to get the lane shift. It is coming. So this is why we must be a people of facts, of the word, of the truth, and not hearsay, conjecture, or speculation, or conspiracy theories. So now let's take a look at living under the oppression of Sunday laws. So we've reached the 6th step. That step that we discussed was the intersection of legislation, because the church appeals to the strong arm of the state to enforce its decrees, and supernatural means as they were used in the past will continue to be used in the future to secure this enactment. And now we have now reached the destination. That was the intersection. We have reached point number 6 in our 6 steps to the National Sunday Law. We have reached the Sunday Law as a destination. In this destination, there's also a time period, because as was repeated before, spoken before, the Sunday Law is a season. It's not a one-off, singular, isolated event. So let's look at living under the oppression of the Sunday Law. All right. So it's a test. And it's a test to try our faith, and time must be a factor in the trial of our faith. Delay must be a factor in the trial of our faith. So we have to live under the oppression of the National Sunday Law. Great Controversy 621 paragraph 2. The season of distress and anguish before us will require a faith that can endure weariness, delay, and hunger. So she called it a season. And what we're going to endure: weariness, delay, and hunger. Wearied, living under oppression. Delayed from the coming of Christ, and hunger for food. Because the problem of buying and selling is a serious one. A faith that will not faint though severely tried. The period of probation is granted to all to prepare for that time. We are now in the period of probation. Prepare for that time. Get out of the cities. Go to the country. Get your housings, including in remote locations and rural locations. Live free with elbow room so they can preserve your civil and religious liberty. So there are 3 phases to the National Sunday Law. Don't know if in this presentation we're going to get through all of them. All right. But there are 3 phases to the National Sunday Law, beloved. So we're going to look at the law, the decree, and the enforcement. So the law is going to pass, the decree is going to go forth, the law is going to pass, which is the legislation mandating Sunday as a day of rest. The decree, which compels the conscience with an economic impact using force, telling you that you cannot buy or sell. And the enforcement, which is going to be fines, imprisonments, and then ultimately the death decree. So they kind of, it's 3 separate phases, but they overlap or run on into each other at some point. All right, so there are 3 phases of the National Sunday Law, 6 steps to the Sunday Law, and then 3 phases of the National Sunday Law. And so let's look at the first phase, the law, which is the new legislation that will be made because it's played out in the public domain, because the people demand of their rulers and their statesmen that they make a law, and to secure popularity and patronage, they sit in Congress and they pass a Sunday law. And so this is a law mandating Sunday as the day of rest. So this is the end of religious liberty in the United States. So this is Evangelism 236, written in 1875. You can find it in Last Day Events 144, paragraph 1 and 2. The law of God through the agency of Satan is to be made void. In our land of boasted freedom, religious liberty will come to an end. The contest will be decided over the Sabbath question, not the vaccine question, which will agitate the whole world. You see it there, beloved? You know what? Let me highlight that. I didn't highlight that part. I can highlight it. Thank you so much for the permission. So the Sabbath question will agitate the whole world. So this again is played out into the public domain again, beloved. Just for factual basis to base your faith. Sunday law is not secretive. The Sunday movement, we must read words properly and clearly. The Sunday law is not secretive. It's the movement that the Sabbath question will agitate the whole world. It's going to be on everybody's lip. This goes viral. TikTok, Twitter, Insta, Facebook, WhatsApp, Signal, whatever. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Everybody and their mother is going to be talking about it. A great crisis awaits the people of God. Very soon our nation will attempt to enforce upon all the observance of Sunday of the first day of... A great crisis awaits the people of God. Very soon our nation will attempt to enforce upon all the observance of the first day of the week as a sacred day. In doing this, they will not scruple to compel men against the voice of their own conscience to observe the day the nation declares to be the Sabbath. So it's not just Sunday, they're declaring the day to be the Sabbath of God's rest. So that's it, beloved. So that's a terrible, that's an awful, that is a momentous time to be living in. So it plays out in the public domain. It is not an isolated event. It does not happen in a boardroom. It happens in society. So quit the national Sunday law fear-mongering and recognize that this thing occurs in society. We are not there yet. This is why Amos says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. So you're going to be a day of darkness and not of light. And so because we are rushing it, we don't have to rush it. Because we have to have the character to live in heaven in the sight of a holy God without a mediator. And our messed up selves ain't there yet. Seventh-day Adventists will fight the battle over the seventh-day Sabbath. The authorities in the United States and in other countries will rise up in their pride and power to make laws to restrict religious liberty. Manuscript 78, 1897, Last Day Events 144, paragraph 3. An enmity is aroused in various places against those who observe the Sabbath of the Lord. So it's not the national Sunday law is passed and yet, oops, sorry. And yes, Jesus is coming, yes! Oh, our redemption drive tonight. No, there will be a delay that will test your faith. There will be a delay. An enmity is aroused in various places against those who observe the Sabbath of the Lord. It may become necessary for God's people to move from those places to where they will not be so bitterly opposed. God does not require his children to remain where, by the course of the wicked men, their influence will be made of no effect. And this is, I hope you are listening. God don't require to you to live in a place where, by the course of wicked people, your influence has no power. Go where your influence has power. Learn that lesson. Go where your influence has power, because influence is a talent. So don't sit down in the church that you don't have no influence over. Don't live in a community that you don't have no influence over, even after trying to have some influence. If they just don't care about you, move to where you have influence. God does not require his children to remain where, by the course of wicked men, their influence is made of no effect and their lives endangered. When liberty and life are imperiled, it is not merely our privilege, it is our positive duty to go to places where the people are willing to hear the word of life. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Word of Life, with Andre Knight presently, on our Facebook page, Word of Life. You get a lot of Word of Life right there. So, and where the opportunities for preaching the word will be more favorable. Last Day Events 152, paragraph 1. The time is soon coming when God's people, because of persecution, will be scattered in many countries. Those who have received an all-round education will have the advantage where they are. So this is the initial stages of the Sunday law where things change fundamentally. It fundamentally changes. Because remember, we went from intersection to destination. Yes. We went from the legislation, the intersection to destination. So what is to be our attitude during the Sunday law crisis? Notice what Sister White says. This is coming from Counsels to the Church, 317, paragraph 4. The law for the observance of the first day of the week is the production of an apostate Christendom. Sunday is a child of the papacy, exalted by the Christian world above the sacred day of God's rest. In no case are God's people to pay homage, but I wish them to understand that they are not doing God's will by braving opposition when he wishes them to avoid it. So at that time and in that climate, just like it is today, we don't have to protest and brave opposition of Sunday being sacred. Don't do it. Leave the people be. Work at the issues that are at stake. And we're going to see what are the issues that are at stake in the quotations that are going to be falling. God does not... but I wish them to understand that they are not doing God's will by braving opposition when he wishes them to avoid it. Thus they create prejudice so bitter that it is impossible for the truth to be proclaimed. Remember, we are living under an oppressive time. So we don't go contesting. We don't go protesting. We don't go doing certain things, braving the opposition like that. We go to work for Jesus. Make no demonstration on Sunday in defiance of law. If this is done in one place and you are humiliated, the same thing will be done in another place. We can use Sunday as a day on which to carry forward work that will tell on the side of Christ. We have to do our best, working with all meekness and lowliness, so we can talk to our legislators and so on and so forth. I guess, I don't know. Because when it reached that point, I don't know. But there's something that we still can do. But on Sunday, you don't make no protest and you don't make no demonstration. Don't do it. If you need to do that, for whatever reason or conviction of duty by God, you do that in the weeks, Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday. So notice this in Mind, Character and Personality, Volume 2, page 504, paragraph 2. By some of our brethren, many things have been spoken and written that are interpreted as expressing antagonism to government and law. It is a mistake thus to lay ourselves open to misunderstanding. Even in this coronavirus crisis, we need to apply this principle. It is not wise to find fault continually with what is done by the rulers of government. It is not our work to attack individuals or institutions. We should exercise great care lest we be understood as putting ourselves in opposition to the civil authority. So I'm not going to go up there and say that the Pope is wicked and he's evil and he's this, because I'll be attacking him. And I'm not going to go up there and attack the Catholic Church either. Our duty is to attack error. Just attack the issue, but don't attack the individuals. It is true that our warfare is aggressive, but our weapons are to be those found in a plain, thus saith the Lord. Our work is to prepare a people to stand in the great day of God. We should not be turned aside to lines that will encourage controversy or arouse antagonism in those not of our faith. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 6, page 394. So you would actually be interested to find out that our attitude in the nationalist and the law crisis is not to be an attitude of antagonism. We go quietly to work and we must be lifting up Jesus. Notice these series of questions that she received in Spalding and Megan, page 22, paragraph 1. And this is the question. So it's actually a series of questions and answers. Should the same principles govern our work and our attitude toward the Sunday question in foreign fields, where the prejudices of the people are so strong? Yes, she answers, just the same. The light that I have, so pay close attention now, this is for you. The light that I have is that God's servants should go quietly to work, preaching the grand, precious truths of the Bible, showing that the reason why Christ died is because the law of God is immutable, unchangeable, and eternal. This is critical. This is the crux upon which all of our preaching is to be based, not upon the papacy. So we must give the papacy his place, but he can't occupy all of the space in our preaching. So he must be placed in his little frame. But the issue is not the man of sin. The issue is Lucifer, who wants to use the man of sin to come as the Messiah. You understand? To come as Jesus Christ. So what do we preach? That God's law is immutable. This is why Christ died, because of the law. The Spirit of the Lord will awaken the conscience and the understanding of those with whom you work, bringing the commandments of God to their remembrance. I can hardly describe to you the way in which this has been presented to me. So God gave us precious instruction, special instruction on this point. The Lord says in Revelation 22:16, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. Have any of you seen this angel? The messengers from heaven are close beside those who stand before the people, holding forth the word of life. In preaching the truth, it is not always best to present those strong points of truth that will arouse prejudice, especially where such strong feelings exist as are felt in the southern states. The Sabbath must be taught in a decided manner, but be cautious how you deal with the idle Sunday. A word to the wise is sufficient. So because we are in the Sunday law, it doesn't mean that we go about preaching this Sunday is the mark of the beast just like that, beloved. You still got to deal with it carefully because people don't understand. They don't get why you don't want to be on board in making the world a better place. So you have to explain to them, and largely you have to be going round about fashion. So if your perception of the loud cry is that you just going on loudly just cut off everybody's head, with the Sunday is the mark of the beast. No. That's a conclusion you bring people to. And based upon the individual, it must be done gentle. I have given you the light which has been presented to me. If followed, it will change the course of many, and it will make them wise, cautious teachers. Refraining from work on Sunday is not receiving the mark of the beast, and where this will advance the interests of the work, it should be done. We should not go out of our way to work on Sunday. So she's speaking as though you are living under the Sunday law. So it's a season. After the Sabbath has been sacredly observed in places where the opposition is. So remember, as I told you, there are phases. So in the initial phase, Sunday is sacred, but you can still observe Sabbath. But then that changes where they make it illegal for you to keep Sunday. And then if you don't keep Sunday, you will die. So you see the phases. All right, those three phases. After the Sabbath has been sacredly observed in places where the opposition is so strong as to arouse persecution, if work is done on Sunday, let our brethren make that day an occasion to do genuine missionary work. Let them visit the sick and the poor, ministering to their wants, and they will find favorable opportunities to open the scriptures to individuals and to families. So what do you think about the Sunday law? Well, I tell you what I think from the Bible, and you take them through the Bible. Thus, most profitable work can be done. Do you think that it is right that you have to legislate that people go to church and then you tell them and you go point by point, step by step? The most profitable work can be done for the master. When those who hear and see the light on the Sabbath take their stand upon the truth to keep God's holy day, difficulties will arise for efforts to be brought to bear against them to compel men and women to transgress the law of God. Here, they must stand firm, that they will not violate the law of God. And if the opposition and persecution is determinedly kept up, let them heed the words of Christ. When they persecute you in one city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man come. And so therefore, if that then is the case, that you persecuted in one city and you flee to another, that is definitely a time of displacement. Remember the quotation we read in the previous presentation where it said that God's people will be scattered all over the world. So it's a time of displacement, beloved. So it's a serious time. Indeed, it's a season. So there's suffering, there's privation, there's hardship. It's not a romantic thing that the Sunday law is passed and then Jesus is coming. And so therefore, if you believe that it's romantic and then as soon as the law is passed and then Jesus is going to come, oh, wonderful Savior, no, beloved. Hardship, privation, and difficulties. The time has not yet come for us to work as though there were no prejudice. Christ said, be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. If you see that by doing so, when they say that you will die and you have to speak, you speak plainly. Fines and imprisonment, you speak very plainly. If you see that by doing certain things that you have a perfect right to do, you hinder the work of truth. And listen to this, beloved. Let me highlight. Let me highlight. Give me a minute. If you see that by doing certain things which you have a perfect right to do, you hinder the work of the truth. Refrain from doing those things. So for some people, this is why I say this vaccination crisis is very subjective. For some people, they have to take the vaccination because of the position that they are in, the jobs that they have, and therefore the effect and the influence that they have. So we have to consider not only my right, but the effect of my actions upon the truth. So when you see somebody, when it's making it a test question that if you get the vaccination, you are committing the unpardonable sin and you are sinning against God, that's just a demonic theory. That's a demonic theory born in hell to create paralysis. You understand? God isn't working like that. No, he is not. If you see that by doing certain things that you have a perfect right to do, you hinder the work of the truth, refrain from doing those things. Do nothing that will close the minds of others against the truth. There is a world to save, and we gain nothing by cutting loose. Remember all of the, listen beloved, you can lay down your life to save your friend. Yeah, lay down your life to save your, to save a soul as well, you know. So this age is the age of is my right. But we are told that there are rights that we can afford to surrender for the sake of the truth. So you need to apply that principle to this situation also, instead of seeing it from the point of view that, yes, I must protest. You understand? You can address the issue of civil and religious liberty even if you took the vaccination for your own personal reasons. You understand? And don't go allowing the vaccination to steal your job from you, which will retard your money-making capacity, saving capacity to get into the country. Beloved, don't lose your opportunity that God has been putting in place for you. Keep focused. Everybody can't respond to this situation in the very same way. We can voice our protest against the coercion of conscience, beloved, but you have to make your own personal choice. Excuse me, battery is about to die. There's a world to save, and we gain nothing by cutting loose from those we are trying to help. All things may be lawful, but all things are not expedient. We have no right to do anything that will obstruct the light which is shining from heaven. Yet, by a wrong course of action, we may imperil the work and close the door which God has opened for the entrance of the truth. Yes, you know, you should not put things in your body that will compromise your health and so on and so forth. Don't breathe in traffic. Do not breathe in traffic. Please, never breathe in traffic. And putting on your air conditioning unit in your vehicle is not going to help either, because it is not 100% filtration. We know this. And so, beloved, don't use faulty reasoning to sustain a specious position that is a man-made test. No, beloved. Ask God what he wants you to do, and how will it affect your influence, and God will guide you and direct you and say, take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. Everybody is not in the same position. Circumstances, alter cases. Run that through the spirit of prophecy, and it will mature your understanding of what you are to do. And I tell people, there was a couple in the spirit of prophecy. Sister White spoke of the husband and the wife had malaria. The wife chose not to take the medication. The husband did, and she died because he chose not, and he was alive. And he asked Sister White, would she have sinned in taking the malaria medication? And Sister White told her, no. Circumstances, alter cases. God expects you to do your best. Health is a very subjective thing. Be obedient to the laws of health. Live a life of obedience to the laws of health. But healthful living, like righteousness by faith, is not subjective. It's objective. In other words, righteousness is not based upon your deeds or misdeeds, but upon your habit. So when people are trying to base righteousness upon not taking the vaccination, no. You cannot take the vaccination and you can do like Steve Jobs and be up all night and going to sleep late all the time for work and for life and for family and for emergency, and then impair your health and die. You understand? So it's quite subjective, health is. But it's how you live, your lifestyle. So if your objective lifestyle is healthful, perfect. But it's not going to be based upon one deed unless, beloved, you drink a poison. And it's not poison. It's not poison. I don't want it. I don't want it in my body. But if I'm in a position where I have to take it, I will take it. I go and do evangelism. I go to Africa and do the evangelism. And I have to take vaccines that I would never take on normal circumstances. But I do not allow me taking the vaccine me resisting the vaccine to prevent me from doing my duty to the people, because they value their souls above mine. And so therefore, well, not above mine, I value their souls. And because they value their souls, beloved, God rewards my efforts. So when they take the vaccines that they have to give me, TB, yellow fever, whatever the case may be, it doesn't do me anything. I don't get any side effects. I don't get sick. So God comes to your rescue if your motive is right. Yes. And remember, the promise also says, nothing shall by any means hurt you if you take up any deadly thing. If you drink any deadly thing, you may reason around this and you are free to do so. But I know the God that I serve. I'm serving God not by information that is out there. I'm serving God because of His truth. And so therefore circumstances alter cases. So if I have to go, my mother lives in a different country and she gets sick and I cannot leave this country unless I get into an airplane. And in order to get into the airplane, I have to take the vaccine. So therefore, boom. Circumstances alter cases. Don't let people guilt trip you. Those persons who are trying to guilt trip you by doctrine or by personal philosophy are using the tools of the devil. That's all it is. This is what I unapologetically say then, that is demonic. If you want to take it and you have to take it to secure, well, whatever, you take it. If you don't, don't. But circumstances alter cases. So no man, and let me talk about health, you know, because I am big on fanaticism and health reform. Sister White is very clear. No man is to become a criterion for another person. Not even Sister White is my criterion. I can care less if she takes the vaccination or not. It wasn't her decision. It's my decision. It's God. You understand? I understand what the laws of health. I also understand my duty, and I also understand my situation. I also understand my circumstance. And so therefore we must be a people of strategy. Absalom came to power. And when Absalom came to power, he had to leave Jerusalem. He could not fight in Jerusalem. But he could have stayed and fight, but it had been too much bloodshed on the people. So you know what? David acquiesced. And in acquiescing the kingdom to Absalom, he left. But you know what? He did work a strategy. He sent back Hushai to defeat the counsel of Ahithophel. And Ahithophel's counsel was defeated. So therefore, the very same people who take the vaccination can be the very same ones who go and say, no, this is coercion. This is restricting our civil and religious liberty. I have taken the vaccination, but what your methodologies in doing and your lack of transparency and misinformation that you two are peddling, we can't deal with it. No, it's wrong. And I take the vaccine for whatever reason, personal or otherwise. And so therefore, so the fight does not belong to the anti-vaxxers. It belongs to every conscientious individual. So don't be herded. The devil herds people into two camps as well, you know. But you know what? The truth is really the separation of classes. So I don't need to hate my brother because you know how much people ain't know that take the vaccine. Why would they condemn them? Be gone from me, you fanatics. No. So don't guilt trip. Don't be using the devil's methods to try and do God's work. It does not work, beloved. And so forgive that small aside. And notice this principle. Let us show the principle. So people stretching Bible, all right? People stretching the Bible. People stretching the Bible. But let's see what the spirit of prophecy is saying, all right? So we have no right to do anything that will obstruct the light which is shining from heaven. Yet by a wrong course of action, we may imperil the work and close the door which God has opened for the entrance of the truth. The final issue of the Sabbath question has not yet come. And by imprudent action, we may bring on a crisis before the time. Don't put your life in crisis because of this coronavirus or because of vaccination. Don't do it. Be at peace. You may have all the truth, but you need not let it all flash at once upon minds, lest it become darkness to them. Even Christ said to his disciples, I have many things to say to you, but you cannot hear them now. We must not go into a place, open our satchel, show all we have, and tell everything we know at once. We must work cautiously, presenting the truth by degrees, as the hearers can bear it, and keeping close to the Lord. Now watch what justifies all that I said beyond the biblical context of Hushai and Ahithophel in Absalom versus David. So notice the historical context of it. And I always wondered, because there's a misunderstanding to believe that at everything you got to cry aloud and lift up your voice like a trumpet and stand cry for the abominations that they done in the midst thereof. That's for Israel. We see that we are not living in an Israeli context. We live in the context of the world as the people of God. Notice, historically, the Waldensians entered the schools of the world as students. They made no pretensions. Apparently, they paid no attention to anyone. So I'm still living in my bubble. I'm not bothered about Delta, Alpha, Omega, variant, whatever. Apparently, they paid no attention to anyone, but they lived out what they believed. This is why I'm doing it, not what I'm believing. I'm not sacrificing principle. They never sacrificed principle, and their principles put into practice soon became known to other students. This was different from anything the other students had ever seen, and they began to ask among themselves, what does this all mean? While they were considering this, they heard them praying in their rooms, not to the Virgin Mary, but to the Savior whom they addressed as the only mediator between God and man. The worldly students were encouraged to make inquiries, and as the simple story of the truth as it is in Jesus was told, their minds grasped it. And she goes on, I just cut the quotation. She goes on to talk about the entire school was infected with the knowledge of the truth, and it was done imperceptibly. And she says, you don't know, there's few people that we can trust to do those things. And I understand that principle, beloved. We don't have to make an open show and express our disdain about everything or every sin or infraction done in the land. We go about and we do our work quietly, silently, perfectly. So notice in Spalding and Megan, she continues. This is page 24, paragraph 3 on to paragraph 4. Advance truth. Give those with whom you may come in contact an opportunity to learn what is truth and to become converted, sane thinking people, believing that when you get the coronavirus vaccination, that magnets is going to stick to your body, and all of a sudden you're going to have a superpower to turn on like bulbs with the energy that you've been given, with the magnetic power that you're being infused with the vaccination and the radiation that the vaccination gives you. The very word radiation denotes a source of power radiating outwards. It is impossible that it is going to have such a powerful effect upon you. Look for other mechanisms of actions to approve your disdain in taking it. But don't look for foolish reasons. Because when we look for the foolish reasons, it's the 5G towers that giving people coronavirus. We discredit our own selves. Even if we believe certain things, shut your mouth and don't utter it. Because what you say can discredit your own testimony. Beloved, we got to play. It's not a game, but we have to play our hand with common sense and not looking at is the truth. It's true. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking what is true. No, we have to speak what is the truth as it is in Jesus. So this is what she said: advance truth. Give those with whom you may come in contact an opportunity to learn what is truth and to become converted. But do not think that your light gives you license to make a raid on those who are in error. When we begin to work with parliaments, with men holding high positions in governments, the enemy is aroused to exert all his strength against us. So who we're working with? Parliaments and people in high positions, because we are bringing the truth to them. So the belief that we shouldn't get into evolving politics needs to be taken in a correct context.
I can't show all of your contacts.
Sorry, Siri does listen to your conversation. When we begin to work with parliaments and with men holding high positions in governments, the enemy is aroused to exert all his strength against us, and he will make the work hard. Do not let your work be known any more than is necessary. The best course to follow is that which will avoid opposition. The least said about the foolish errors of others, the better. Do not speak disrespectfully of ministers. This is where I close my lips. I have nothing evil to say about the powers that be. And if I don't have facts to sustain my position, I'm not going to talk about the papacy and talk about Pope Francis doing this and he's hiding little boys and this is what the priests are doing. We got to stop that slander. The people of the truth should not be using slander. You understand? I'm calling people Jesuits when we don't have the slightest evidence, but we are going by feelings. That's slander. We are using the devil's methods to do God's work. We must be people of the truth. and the truth must only exit our lips. Do not speak disrespectfully of ministers. Satan and all his hosts are working to make of none effect the law of God. And when we begin to work on controversial lines, he will lead men to believe that we do not regard their laws or obey their decrees. So this position is highly subjective. And the Adventist church can lose its moment if we don't join in the fray of speaking. Say, we agree that you must do this, but some of the methodologies that you are using are against liberty of conscience. So be more transparent and address certain issues, because the governments of the World and World Health Organization and CDC are national institutes of health are not blameless. And Paho, they are not blameless. There's some false original premises, and they have conscientious people, educated people operating as though that there's no false original premise. But because we respect human wisdom more than the wisdom of God, we have missed the point. That the point was made from the beginning that the only way to achieve immunity is by vaccination. That's a lie, and that's a flaw. You work with it, but you see, that argument goes with the system. So people are trusting the system, not seeing, realizing that the system is predicated upon some false, erroneous arguments. And so yes, we must trust the science, but we trust real science. But a lot of scientists are bought and sold to the highest bidder, and history shows this. We don't even have to try. That to promote an agenda, you distort the truth. So people are reacting as though the truth is not being distorted, or the truth cannot be distorted, as though it is God speaking to us. You see it there, beloved? That's not the way it's supposed to be, man. So even conscientious people. So operate from a position of truth. Your lifestyle determines your immunity that you were born with, the quality of your immunity, the energy, the strength that you will have, your lifestyle choices. And it's not your deed or misdeed. So even if you take the vaccination, you still have to shore up your body naturally. You understand? So here in the Caribbean, we keep it real with natural remedies. And there are many doctors in the system who are not going along with what is going on. And there are many doctors who see the science of it and they accept it. But again, there's some false original premises. A false original premise that has been made. A flawed argument. Wherein I need a vaccination. So if that my immune system alone is inadequate. No, the immune system of a person who does not take care of their health alone is inadequate. That's it. But if you're taking care, you're following the laws of health, even if you know how to rally. And if that's your time, to God be the glory. And even if you take the vaccination, you follow the laws of health, your body is going to rally. So there is no bulletproof method to prevent you from getting it. If you get it, you get it. I got it. I got coronavirus. Myself, my entire family, it was mild because we live different though. And here's a secret. You must keep your body in free flow. This is why we are told perfect health is depending upon perfect circulation. And so if you need some remedies to deal with whether you have the vaccination or you don't, you can message me. You can message me. messengerthecovenant@gmail.com. You can message me. You understand? But the secret is you keep your body in free flow. So, yes, health as a science, the system as a science of disease studies disease more than it studies health. So God wants us to study health. You understand? You keep your body in free flow. Perfect health depends upon perfect circulation. So let me finish this here. At this point, I want to stop before I continue because much more material is to come and I don't want to be more overbearing than it already is. And so, where did I stop? Satan and all his hosts are working to make of none effect the law of God. And when we begin to work on controversial lines, he will lead men to believe that we do not regard their laws or obey their decrees. Believing this, they will make it as hard as possible for all who will not worship their idol Sunday. We are not to reveal our purposes and plans to men. Satan will take advantage of any indiscretion shown on this point. He does not work openly and above board. He works in an underhanded manner and will continue to do so. Before the people are prepared for it, he leads men to set a powerful movement on foot by working on their minds to counteract our work. That's what he's doing. Let me finish here and we're going to pick it up in the next presentation where we continue to take a look at living under the oppressive Sunday laws. Blessings and peace. Once again, this is Andre Knight, Director of the of Messengers of the Covenant Ministries. Thank you for watching, taking the time, and also to sharing with your friends and your loved ones this necessary information that brings clarity to your mind. Blessings and peace and balance.